Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome to what is now Wednesday. I was hoping I was going to get to do a reading here yesterday, and it just wouldn't materialize, so I ended up just kind of doing a posting instead, but it was a heartfelt posting, so hopefully if you're also following on social media, you got to see that one as well. We're going to jump in. We've got a lot of kind of got a couple of stories by the tail right here, and we're going to jump in on both of them in this reading. So we're going to look at the new soulmate that's coming in and what the energy is that's coming in with that. We're also going to look at this situation that's happened with this divine masculine and the changes that are happening there, particularly as they relate to you. So I am going to change up the format on the reading again. Like I changed up Sunday's format a little bit. This is going to be something a little bit different. We're just going to kind of customize. I have a tendency to customize, like when I do the personal readings for you, I start with a framework and then we customize from there. I'm just going to kind of do that since I'm watching the story unfold and it's for this collective. So with that, yes, it's a general reading for this collective, and just like it always is. So if it resonates with you, get caught up. Check out some of the other earlier readings so that the references all make sense, and I'm going to do my best to recap what's happened in the last couple of readings as we go, to just kind of remind you of maybe some of the connections that are coming out, because these are very much all connected. So I am going to read for you with the Revelations Tarot and, let's see, the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. And then when we get to probably to the extended, I don't know if we're going to do an extended today or not. Whenever we get to the Oracle card, this is the Sacred Forest Oracle. I had to turn around and see what it was. It's the Sacred Forest Oracle. I have a couple of Oracle decks by that same maker, and sometimes I get the names mixed up. So I think I'm going to start with this deck. I actually want to start with the Forest of Enchantment and use Revelations to clarify. So we're going to go ahead, and the first thing I want us to look at is pretty much as usual. I like us to look at that emotional backdrop, that energetic backdrop, just kind of the energy that you guys are both working with. What's happening in the energy around you. So this could be anything anything from environmental, situational type energy to energy that's impacting everyone. But it's what speaks the loudest. So we have 10 of challenges, remembering an old pain. 10 of challenges is air energy. Challenges are air energy in this deck. Okay, so remembering an old pain, and with the wise woman, this is the equivalent of the high priestess in the traditional tarot. This is desperate to keep secrecy. Desperate to keep secrecy with some things, that pain that's recently come out that's maybe never really been admitted to anybody, and it's recently shown up for some reason. I don't know if it's been a dream, or I feel like there's guilt associated with it, and not because this person did anything wrong. I think there's guilt associated with it because they just don't want to talk about it. Yeah, they want the pain to go away. They look to you for that. That's a 10 of swords, so that's the same energy as this 10 of challenges that came out here. But here it is coming out in the reverse, seeking a solution, seeking something that feels safe. And here we have the Emperor wanting to take control of the situation. So that's kind of our emotional and energetic backdrop. I wouldn't call it a comfortable place to be. In fact, it feels a little constricted, but I also feel like your person's trying to do the best with what they have going on. Remember, this is the energy of someone who's got some action, some energetic difficulty going on with a third party who may have them making, it may be kind of some questionable decisions in, a third party, or toward a third party, but in a social situation. So we had a couple of readings. They were going to say something, earlier than they should, like tipping their hand or saying something too soon is going to create a little bit of a problem for them, pushing them into having to make a decision that they're not quite ready to make. And they have some reckless behavior that kind of happens as a result of that. This is where they start to have that energy of wanting to draw you in. Now, if you combine with this, that some of what we saw in the extended yesterday, where your person is, um, they may be kind of starting to feel the energy of you slipping away a little bit and just kind of wanting to do what they can to make it seem like they have more control. That's where I feel like this emperor kind of connects for me. It feels like wanting to have some of that control. So we're not going to spend too much time here. I want us to spend a little bit of time on what's happening with this soulmate, because the new soulmate that's coming in, we have been reading about a divine masculine with whom you have some sort of like a traditional twin flame type. I'm not particularly fond of the term, but that type of, if you look it up, that's the type of relationship, and you end up with a runner chaser dynamic. You end up with it being an uncomfortable situation but a really perfect fit, and things that were lessons kind of need to be learned but they haven't yet, and you guys are vehicles through which each other will learn these lessons. Then you have the opportunity to go into to be in union and be together. So that's your divine masculine. And then here recently we've been hearing an awful lot about a new soulmate. The whole last reading turned out to be about this new energy that was coming in, energy that's kind of coming in from the past. And it has a lot of, this person has more confidence and is farther along on their healing path, right? And so there's a lot of potential for happiness. And one of the things we saw was you just have to get out of the way. All you have to do is be able to go along with it. But that is not as simple as it sounds. So I wanted to dig in a little bit more into what's happening with this, particularly after yesterday's extended, and just kind of see what would come out about this, about the change that you undergo when you become connected with this person, what that's going to be like, what the lessons are, and kind of those are the pieces that I wanted to talk about over here. So let's look at just kind of what needs to come out about this new person, because I know from your emails and your notes that some of you have already started to run across these people. Like the soulmate is already starting to pop out for some of you. So we've got a seeker of spells. Seeker of spells in the reverse, though. Remember I mentioned before that this catches you kind of off guard. It catches you at a not so great time for you emotionally. It's not a, they catch you at a funny time emotionally, but I don't know. I feel like you still do a reasonably good job of handling it. Let's see here. And I dropped a couple. I want to look at those first. Let's see. Okay, everything I dropped was face down. So we have the Weaver of Spells. So in this deck, spells. This is fire energy. So the Weaver of Spells is like the Queen of Fire. So this is going to be like a Queen of Wands kind of energy. And then we have the Child of Visions here in the reverse and the Child of Spells here in the reverse. Okay, so this is a lot of court cards. It's a lot of people cards. The Weaver of Spells is like the Queen of Wands. The Child of Visions. Visions are water energy, so that's like cups. Then, of course, Child of Spells. Once again, this is that fire energy. But the Child of Visions and the Child of Spells are both in the reverse. And I'll tell you, those feel more like things that impact your behavior as you're walking into this more than anything else. So remember, there is a lot of passion about this. It's a person from your past. There's a lot of passion that you can feel about it. Definitely a sense of confidence on their side and an immediate catching you off guard, not necessarily a great moment of confidence on your side. There's even a little bit of a moment of kind of not wanting to get involved, it feels like, or not wanting to get emotionally connected, not necessarily wanting to make the connection. And this makes sense. I mean, remember when we looked into it in the extended, one of the things that we saw about what this was going to be like, because I just dropped 4 questions out there and asked 4 distinct questions. Tell us more about this change. Tell us what it's going to be like. Tell us what the lessons are that are coming out of it. And then we looked at also at the struggle around your divine masculine, which I think is this whole half of the reading. So we'll get to that in a minute. Because that's not over. But okay, so the situation with how it was going to be, it came out that it was not gonna proceed quickly. You are not overly attached when you get to this place. You're here for it. You're just not overly attached. You aren't jumping in as if you need this in order to have your happiness. And that's kind of a really nice thing about this, is you are not immediately too attached to this person, even under the circumstances. And there's quite a bit of passion here. You have the Council of Animals, which is like the Judgment card. It is a positive feeling. It's looking at the situation and saying, yes, okay, I understand what's happening here, and I know I don't control it, but I feel like it's in a good place. Like not feeling a strong need to control it. So I get a good sense around this soulmate. I understand that, like one of the other pieces that we saw when we looked at it, you know, I mean, it's a lot of change that's coming for you, and it's not a perfect situation. So there's something here that has to kind of be fixed, some kind of healing that really requires doing on both sides. It's not too bad as far as learning experiences go. I mean, the further along you could be in your healing by the time this begins, the better it is for you. But I feel like it's just a matter of keeping yourself open to that. And that's another thing that has continued to come out. So we know it's not a perfect situation, but it just feels so much more comfortable. And remember, they have that figure, they figured out how to do the concept of give and take. We have the Star card in the reverse and the Eight of Cups in the upright. So there has been the lesson of the Eight of Cups, the Nine of Cups, and the Ten of Cups has been something that you and your person have, you and your divine masculine have really been working through. As you have been evaluating what it is that's going to make you happy, you are able to look at this person. Remember, the Ten of Cups came out for them the other day, but you're able to look at this person and say, now, this does look like it's too good to be true, which immediately kind of triggers you, it looks like. So that's the emotional setback that we see there. The Judgment card and the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse feels like a little bit of a hiccup that you run across as you begin to have the experience with this person. So you have a little bit of a hiccup. And this makes sense. This makes sense. I mean, it's a pleasant change that you have, that you go through with this soulmate, but it is, you kind of have to get tested about the concept of what makes you happy, what constitutes your wish fulfillment. That came out in yesterday's extended also. Yesterday's extended was another really good one. I'm going to put the link to it down here, even if we don't go to an extended. I'll put the link for, not yesterday, Sunday, Sunday's extended. I'll put the link for that one down there so that you can see it. It's basically, like I said, I laid out those 4 questions and then I got into some, you know, kind of the nitty gritty on those. So I will summarize them for you here because I do not believe in holding the message captive, just for the folks who have the ability to go get the extended, the ability, the time, etc. But if you want the details beyond the recap, that's where they'll be. So I'll have the extended, the link for that extended from Sunday down below. I've got to remember to do that. I just like to do that when I feel like this is especially connected, and this, we are asking questions that are especially connected. So we had asked about the change though, and like I said, it's a nice change, but you have to get tested a little bit on, you know, what it is that constitutes that wish fulfillment. And throughout the whole process, there's a need to communicate, and yet it looks like here there's a desire not to, and that's on your side. That's a desire not to communicate on your side. There's that sense of being triggered, once again, comes from you. And the Ten of Cups in the reverse, you are going to get a little bit of like your divine masculine's feeling on this. So remember when your divine masculine had this soul recognition with you, which by the way feels very different from the soul recognition you have with this person. It just, the nature of everything feels much warmer and more comfortable right off the bat, but maybe not the same depth as what you have with your divine masculine. But so you get this sense that they feel like it's too good to be true. How could you have changed this much? Whatever that ends up being. And here's the thing though, you immediately decide to kind of run the other way. Now, a lot of you are going to be able to stop yourselves and say, it's not really the right way to go. I'm clearly being triggered. But yes, there is a strong sense of being triggered in this energy with that Queen of Cups. Strong sense of being triggered and not necessarily being sure what the best course of action is, like what the best path is for you. Let's see here. Oh, we have the Fool. Okay, here's the thing though. You end up jumping into something that is a little bit of an uncharted area, uncharted territory. I see that. But I feel like there's a significant learning in here for you. And remember, you had some lessons coming in, particularly in the area of how to receive love. There was something to do with having some knowledge, because this is a person from your past, having some knowledge on the front end. So letting go of this hold on the emotions, because you're holding your own emotions back, much like your divine masculine has been doing. There's this sense of getting past the resistance that you are currently harboring because of the situation with your divine masculine. And both you and this soulmate need to do a little bit of work on learning to go with the flow. That was one of the things that came out. There was a lot of struggle. You guys are especially impressed with one another right now, and there's some healing to do. So we've got the Four of Cups, the Four of Swords, both in the reverse. There's nothing wrong with this. So I have said this before, and I will say it again. This is a slower moving union. It's a slower moving situation, and it does not have... There are no true expectations. You could walk away at any time. You are not as connected. It doesn't mean you don't stay with this person. It just means there's not really like anything holding you together that feels sticky or clingy. It's very much just that the two of you make each other's lives better. There's a wonderful health in that. Like I said, there's and we've seen that there's unfinished business here. We've seen that there's healing that needs to happen. It doesn't threaten me though. It doesn't seem threatening. Now, I won't necessarily say that about the divine masculine situation. So we talked about a struggle. We talked about a struggle with your person. And the reason that I wanted to devote the whole piece over here to what you need to do about this, this is not over. The situation with your person may feel like you're slipping away. They don't feel comfortable with this. So you may see a bit of a different dynamic emerge where they become more of the chaser. You may change focus a little bit, therefore becoming a little bit of the runner. That was one of the things we saw in yesterday's extended. Your divine masculine, we find them leading kind of with their emotions, and this is the reason why it may be difficult to just go with the flow with this new soulmate, because it seems like at first, well, why wouldn't you just go with it? It seems very pleasant, and it is, but it may not be flashy. I think that's part of what it is. It may be hard not to get into your own way because of the way this divine masculine comes in. So we need to take a closer look at this, and this is partly what you need to do about it. What else you need to know about this struggle and what you need to do about it. Because you've got a divine masculine who's working through some things. 10 of Spells in the reverse. That's the concept, or that's that feeling of coming in like they're having a breakdown. A breakdown on their side. The Forge. This is something that is putting them into a situation where they are being forced to do some learning. They're being forced to... if they're not super receptive to it, they're kind of being opened up to it almost forcefully by the universe. And, ooh, I dropped some. It just feels like a very uncomfortable learning on their side in the form of a breakdown. Makes them want to come your direction. They want to come your direction. So these fell down. I had to pick them up. We got the Five of Visions. This is like Five of Cups in the reverse, and they have some idea of what it is that they need to do to get their mind wrapped around happiness, and they just don't feel like they have access to it. But they also all of a sudden are finding themselves like trying to get to a place of happiness where before they felt no rush, and because they felt like you were just there for the taking. Let me see what I dropped here. Okay, so we have the Six of Challenges, Energy for them feels like it's moving a little too quickly. Seeker of boons. Okay, so with the seeker of boons, they are opening themselves up to a lesson, but kind of not quickly enough. It's a slow, steady progression, sort of, though. They are really doing a lot of meandering in this energy. We also have the Weaver of Boons. So boons are earth energy. Okay, so they are a little bit more familiar in some cases in like that physical way. This is sure, confident, moving forward, but it's not necessarily the way that they're behaving. The way that they've been behaving, there's been so much inconsistency and so much to kind of not drive much of a sense of self-worth in anyone they're dealing with. In you, I mean, there's a lot of ghosting, there's a lot of not move, there's just a lot of this energy of things moving very slowly or not at all. And then very suddenly kind of resurfacing and being disorienting. That's kind of what I get out of this. And this person comes in with this effort to kind of move towards you, but they're very fearful at the same time. So you're feeling both sides of that. And I feel like that's kind of part of what the problem is. You'll be feeling both sides of it, but it makes you unsure about how to move forward with them. And yet they get enough of your attention that you have to really kind of divide your attention between different priorities, different situations. You have a new soulmate coming in, you have other things that are happening in your life, and you suddenly have this person demanding a lot of your energy, at least from an energetic standpoint, and in some cases from a physical time sort of standpoint. And it takes up a lot of your ability to handle the situation. I feel like it weighs heavily on you. Their breakdown weighs heavily on you. So we have a Four of Pentacles here. Part of the reason that it weighs too heavily on you, and we asked for advice about what you should do, because this I want mixed in with the you portion of the reading. This, we can take some implications for the you portion, but for this portion, it's partially what should you do. There is something here that you are holding on to a little too tightly. It may be the concept of control, but I think maybe that's a little bit of it, and it goes beyond that. Both of you have the capacity to come out of this in a much healthier, much more pleasant place, but you have to kind of get rid of those assumptions that you have about the relationship that you have with one another, these feelings of ownership. There's a feeling of ownership that it feels like is making things more strained between the two of you. So be watching for that. There is a sense of missed opportunity or something that you don't get to do, like a lack of a connection. Both of you trying to get to a place and finding that there's kind of not a way to connect. It's missed timing. There's a feeling of missed timing and very much being aware of it, having some clarity on that. So these two come out together and very much sound like missed timing and an awareness around that. So I feel like there's kind of a warm sense between the two of you. This isn't nearly as scary as I was afraid it was going to be. I was afraid it was going to be them coming and breaking down and making a scene. And whereas I can't promise that's not the case, I think it ends up being quelled relatively quickly. And this is a situation where you are able to help them, but you're not able to be here in the same capacity that you would have been ready to be even a short time ago. So we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant in this case is this is what maybe some of you said you never wanted to do. You didn't want to be somebody who, and I get a lot of notes, so I'm summarizing, but there were a lot of you who were saying, I don't want to be in an advisory capacity for this person. I understand that they look up to you, because we get that a lot. We see that in the readings, but that's not the relationship I want to have. I want to be on equal footing. You are on equal footing, but only if you add up the pluses and the minuses. Now, you're going to be in a more equivalent emotional space with this other person over here, this soulmate that's coming in. The person that you've been dealing with, this divine masculine, there's definitely still some need for them to spend time pursuing wisdom, but this is going to harden them. It's just like the Forge up here. It's going to harden them into the type of person that they ultimately will need to become. So just like I was seeing in yesterday's extended, where your person will benefit from the lessons that you're learning with this new soulmate. Your divine masculine is going to benefit from the lessons you're learning with the new soulmate, just as the situation with the new soulmate will benefit from the lessons you've recently learned with your divine masculine. It goes both ways. It's not just, I mean, this is lessons that will benefit your divine masculine, so that when they come back and they're able to see you again and be a little bit closer with you, so they want to come in but they want to run away at the same time. So you see that approach, avoid, and if you don't continue to try and bring them in, they lose a certain amount of traction. They lose a certain amount of traction because they lack a certain amount of confidence. There's something here about them not being sure how this is going to land when they approach you, not being sure, and they have every right to not be sure about that, because they have waited too long to say something, and this is part of why we have a missed opportunity and poor timing. We have the Hanged Man in reverse also, a perspective that's not yet gained. So this just kind of reminds us that this is a person who isn't quite there yet. They're just not quite there yet as far as the lessons that they need to learn that are going to make them sufficient and ready to deal with a situation with you. I feel like we need to, when we get into the extended here, it makes sense to look a little bit more into what's happening with the new soulmate that's coming in, as far as energy that is simply coming your way. I keep seeing something about this triggering. I keep seeing something about this kind of hill that you have to get over, and these challenges with the change. So I feel like I want to dig in a little bit farther into that, because I still feel like it's connected a little bit with this divine masculine and an inability to kind of disconnect from this situation in certain ways. There's a lack of necessity to disconnect in other ways. So I want to get a little bit clearer on that. So I feel like in the extended, we kind of take these two and we connect them together. And in an unprecedented move, I think we need to get an oracle card here. I imagine we will also still do one when we get into the extended. So let's see here. An oracle card, just a little bit of advice. It's going to be advice for you. That's typically what these oracle cards are. There's a lot of confusing energy that comes in here, especially as we feel like that questioning energy coming from your person, not quite sure how you're going to respond to them. So we have the hummingbird spirit of joy. This is about doing what brings you joy. It's about making sure that you remember this. Making sure that you remember these individual moments that that have sparked happiness in you over time, whether it's with this divine masculine, whether it's with this new soulmate, whether it's with some of these new opportunities and hobbies that I know from your notes that you guys are engaging in. These are things that have shown up in previous readings, and you guys jumped on it and have given me consistent updates. So I know that when we were talking about that thing that was coming up constantly about finding the thing that was going to set your soul on fire, people are still doing that. They are still continuing to find these things. The timing is always a little inconsistent, but the advice here is all about making sure that you are seeking out what truly gives you happiness and using that as your compass as you try to figure out kind of how to direct your energy and your focus, because that's one of the questions that comes up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. We're going to go to the extended. The link will be down below, as well as the extended from Sunday. And we'll look a little bit more into kind of how to pull these things together, because it does feel like the energy is, at least for you, very much connected. So thanks for being with me, and I'll see you over in the extended, or I'll see you again in a couple days in the next reading.